Have you ever, stayed awake so long that the exhaustion just suddenly shifts? You know, your eyelids stop feeling heavy, and out of nowhere, you hit this strange, hyper-aware clarity.
Yeah, that second wind feeling. But intense.
Right, really intense. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a text that argues this isn't just a second wind at all. It explores this profound atmospheric state of hyperfidelity, where extreme sleep deprivation basically strips away our mental filters.
And causes what the source calls a biological breach.
Exactly, a biological breach. We're unpacking this visceral transition from our normal muted existence into a state where a person turns into a pure sensory antenna, specifically during Copenhagen's blue hour.
Yeah, and to really understand that breach, we first have to recognize what we're actually breaking out of.
Yeah.
Because, our normal day-to-day existence is highly curated.
You're talking about the low fidelity loop, right?
Basically, our rested brains are aggressively throwing away about 90% of incoming sensory data.
90%.
Yeah, it's a huge amount. The brain has this trash can mechanism that constantly deletes ambient noise and subtle sensations purely to save power.
Okay, let's unpack this. It makes sense. It's kind of like streaming a video on a really bad internet connection. Your device just automatically drops the resolution to save bandwidth so the video doesn't freeze.
That is a great analogy, yeah. It just downgrades reality.
But so what exactly happens when that crash can mechanism completely fails?
Well, that's what triggers the biological breach. Normally, a chemical called adenosine builds up to make you sleepy. But if you push past that, the brain panics and dumps survival adrenaline into the mix.
So you get this 24-hour surge of adrenaline and adenosine.
Exactly. And that chemical collision literally scorches away the day-to-day noise. Your sensory gates are pinned open in a neurological bypass, so suddenly your brain is forced to keep every single frame of reality.
Every single frame. Wow. And because of that, the physical sensation of the environment just completely changes. The language in the text is incredibly visceral here. It talks about hitting the oxygen interface.
The oxygen interface.
Yeah,
Right?
where the person is literally tasting the chemistry of the world, like ozone, salt, and raw photosynthesis.
And what's fascinating here is that this is the taste of a planet that hasn't been socialized yet.
Socialized? What do you mean?
I mean, without the buffer of a rested brain, you have absolutely no armor left to deflect the raw elements.
Right, okay.
The brain isn't categorizing and dismissing things as unimportant anymore.
Wait, hold on, though. Tasting raw photosynthesis? That sounds a lot less like profound clarity and more like, I don't know, a sleep-deprived hallucination.
It does sound like that, yeah. But it's actually an unmasking. The chemical smells of plants or the actual static charge of the air, those things are always there. Your well-rested brain just ignores them.
Because they aren't relevant to my immediate to-do list?
Exactly. But in this extreme state, you're forced to taste the air instead of just breathing it.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The text places this intense intake of the world in Copenhagen during the blue hour, just before sunrise.
Oh, the Blue Hour Authority.
Yes, the blue hour authority. The author describes the surreal experience of being the only one awake, and they claim to actually feel the weight of the photons of the morning light.
Which sounds totally impossible until you think about the sheer volume of data your skin and eyes are suddenly processing without a filter.
So light actually feels heavy.
Because you aren't just seeing light anymore. Your overstimulated nervous system is registering the physical impact of the environment. You pick up on the ionic charge of the sea spray.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the molecular stillness of the cooling earth. In this state, you are no longer a person with a schedule. Because you can sense all this, you transform into that pure sensory antenna.
Molecular stillness. That's such an intense phrase. I imagine it's like walking into a massive empty concert hall right after the music stops. You don't just hear the quiet, you feel the physical emptiness of the room pressing against you.
That's a perfect way to look at it.
Yeah.
You aren't just existing in the morning, you are interfacing with it. You become a receiver for unsocialized reality.
We usually view exhaustion as a deficit, like a dying battery.
Right, completely.
But this text suggests it temporarily breaks the invisible filters that hide the raw world from us.
It forces us to confront how much of reality is sanitized by our own minds.
Which leaves you with this final thought. If your rested brain constantly discards 90% of reality just to help you function, what other profound invisible forces are surrounding you right now, completely filtered out by your own mind?